Producer Joe here from the Working Fans Podcast. And at the Working Fans Podcast, this is just a podcast that three lifelong fans created to have a place to talk comedy and pro wrestling. Now, our comedy podcast releases every Tuesday, while our wrestling podcast releases every Thursday. We release bonus episodes under the moniker Working Fans Presents every now and then. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, any major podcast provider. The important thing is just please like, rate, review, subscribe wherever you listen to us. Now, we have started a new thing. We are now on Amazon and Audible. So those episodes release every Monday. And that's kind of going through the archives and just releasing our old episodes in a new area. So if you want to live through the process with us again, take that journey with us again, you can find us over on Amazon and Audible. Now, if you can't get enough of us in the audio form, check out our YouTube. It's youtube.com/C/Working Fans Wrestling Pod, or just search Working Fans Podcast on YouTube. We have the whole archive is up there. And if you listen to the Working Fans Podcast, you are more than familiar with the 531. That is our signature segment where we take your top 5 lists on a particular subject, vote it down to a top 3, and then debate it down to a top 1. Now, guys, if you want to hear 3 guys talk shit about comedy, wrestling, life, anything, you will enjoy the Working Fans Podcast. Fans, welcome back for Working Fans Comedycast, episode 36. This week, we are doing a 531 on top Leslie Nielsen movies. Let us know in the comments what your favorite Leslie Nielsen movie is, because fucked if we know. Dave, I got to be honest with you. There's some weeks we come in here, we know we're going to kill it. This week, I think, is one of those weeks where we're going to be doing a little heavy lifting, man. It's going to be a little more personality and a little less list this week, I feel.
Yeah, bro. We talked about this last night. All right. So,
yeah, fuck Leslie Nielsen. I remember the tag.
So, Leslie Nielsen is the topic this week, top 5 movies. And I'm guessing by me and Joe's reaction that Chevy was the one who picked this category. Sorry, Chevy, when you hear this. But Joe was talking to me last night, and he's like, I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of lists. And he's like, I don't know what we're going to do. And I'm like, I'll be honest, I was just planning on telling everybody how much I hated Leslie Nielsen. And then me and Joe realized that neither one of us were fans. But we got some people's list, and we owe it to them to fucking do this. So.
Well, I mean, I guess I would put it as much as it's not that I'm not a fan. I just haven't watched a ton of his stuff. I've seen him in movies.
Sure. I'm
like, oh, that's Leslie Nielsen. Like, I know he's funny. He's just not like a Jim Carrey or somebody like that I would seek out.
Yeah, I remember seeing him as a kid. I wasn't really too interested in him. I didn't really like the style of comedy he did, I think. I thought he ruined my SummerSlam 94. I didn't enjoy that. No. Oh, sorry. I'm dying. I'm sorry, Leslie.
Yeah, the text last night was Leslie Nielsen is bitch made, I think was the last one I got.
Something about, he ain't shit. Never was. Fuck that little guy he had running around with him in all those Naked Gun movies. You know what I'm talking about. I don't know his name. AJ would know it. That fat motherfucker. He was flying around with him. But
all right, so before we really desecrate the name of Leslie Nielsen, I actually looked up a little bit of information on him because I didn't just want it to be a bunch of movies we weren't familiar with. So I found a New York Times article written shortly after he died, born February 11th, 1926. If he had just held on one more day, we could have shared the same birthday. He was born in Saskatchewan, grew up in Edmonton. He debuted in radio in Calgary. He debuted on TV on the CBS Actors Studio, and his first film was in 1956. He had like 30 years of dramatic and romantic roles before he became a comedic actor that me and Dave gave two fucks about. Now, some people that did give a fuck about Leslie Nielsen are Mike Shannon from the Mothership Facebook group, who had Naked Gun, I'm going to assume 1, Airplane, Naked Gun 33 1/3, Dracula Dead and Loving It, and Spy Hard.
Yeah. So, kind of cool. He's from Canada, I guess. Saskatchewan. That's where Bret Hart won the world title. That meant something to me. That was his first WWE Ric Flair. But it's a comedy cast. So I guess what I'm saying is cool. Let me just say this about Leslie Nielsen before I go on. All right. I'm not telling you the guy's not talented at what he does. I just don't care about what he does, and I don't have any interest in it. So, for the people that really love this and they're going to be like so happy, they're like, "Oh, Leslie Nielsen films, this is great," and you really like it. That's cool. That's what I gotta say. That's cool.
I didn't realize you came here to cry today.
Yeah. You call it Leslie Nielsen, I call it Saturday. We're recording this on a Saturday. So why don't I go to Michael Caldwell? He gave us a list, and I was happy he did. I actually asked Mike Flynn for a list, and Mike Flynn said, "I'm not a fan, no." Which just should have been the key that something was going to be up. But anyway, we know our audience, but Michael Caldwell, he was nice enough to send us a list. Dracula Dead and Loving It, Naked Gun, Airplane, Spy Hard, Police Squad. I don't know if that was a dramatic film or a TV series.
I think that was a TV series that might have been the start of his comedic run.
That's what I thought. Now, I did notice Naked Gun, Airplane, and Spy Hard all got mentioned again. So we'll keep that in mind because that's the best we can do for these guys.
Chris Zauha from the Mothership Facebook group really had the heart of the matter here. He has Naked Gun, Creep Show, and number 3, I Don't Care. I wanted to take that too because Creep Show would probably be the only one I'd put on a list.
I didn't know he was in Creep Show. I want to check that out. So that's kind of funny. Jesse from New Hampshire, Airplane, Naked Gun, Spy Hard. And that's about it. Always felt all his movies are the same. LOL. You can leave me off or just put my partial list. I don't care either way. Jesse, I quoted that because I felt that really represented what we were going into this week. So, no worries.
Yeah, now I've got Dan Titus from the Mothership Facebook group. He's got Forbidden Planet, Repossessed, Naked Gun. Oh, I got Naked Gun again. Probably Naked Gun 2.
Yeah,
and Spy Hard. I mean, it really doesn't fucking matter this week. If you're here because you like us and you got suckered in with Leslie Nielsen movies. This is a bait and switch. We are sorry.
Yeah.
I guess Leslie Nielsen. I mean, he was a great actor. He really he was the middle part of all those movies he was in. I just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you know how they say there's like there's like that Twitter audience, that vocal minority, but in the big scheme of things, they're not really a big representation. That's probably us. We just happen to be that group, you know? Like,
and it's one of those things, like, we rarely talk about something we don't like, or if we don't like it, we try and find a positive. But I think the only positive about this is I was never a Naked Gun fan. I'm sure Airplane is funny. Spy Hard's got to be great. We heard Dame shit on Dracula Dead and Loving It a couple weeks ago. Ruined Mel Brooks' career.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd be interested maybe if I watch these movies now, maybe with a different eye, you know, as I'm older. I don't care enough to do it. So fuck them.
Yeah, because there's so much stuff out there now that it's like...
Yeah.
Well, we can go back and check Leslie Nielsen movies.
I ain't got nothing else better to do with my fucking day. Go check out Naked Gun 2.5. I'll be all right.
You guys gonna make Dave play Leslie Nielsen movies on his phone on the passenger seat of the bread truck? That could only lead to trouble.
It's not happened. I've been pulled over once already for this, and it wasn't for Leslie Nielsen films. You leave that to your imagination. Banana in the tailpipe. All right. I got Randy Osgood here with a list. He's got Airplane, The Naked Gun from the Files of the Police Squad. Okay.
Yep, that's the first one.
All right. Spy Hard, Wrongfully Accused, Surf Ninja, and Nuts. Okay. So Randy had a list, and he seemed content. So good for him.
Actually, I should have read you Albert Bettis's list first from the Mothership Facebook group because he's such a fan of the Naked Gun movies. We got the proper titles.
Huh.
His number one, The Naked Gun from the Files of the Police Squad. The second one, The Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear. Naked Gun 33 1/3, The Final Insult, until you hear episode 36 of the Working Fans Comedycast. Airplane, and Spy Hard.
Yeah, we got some insults here. Yeah. Anyway, that's a list. So going on to Scott from Voluntown. He wrote Airplane, Creepshow, even though it's neither a comedy nor a starring role, the Naked Gun films. So he just left it at that. I'm going to say those last three will round up his list.
1, 2, and 3, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So that's 5. You got anything else?
Harry Priest from the Mothership Facebook group. He's got the Naked Gun 1, the Naked Gun 2, the Naked Gun 3, Airplane, and I bet if there was a Naked Gun 4 that would be on this, but since Leslie Nielsen left us too soon, he has Spy Hard.
That's too bad. Yeah, I got a list from Zach St. John, who's going to probably be upset when he hears this episode, because he wrote, love him. I'm glad you did that. I thought he fucked up SummerSlam 94. I reiterate that from the beginning of the podcast and now. Zach will talk about that. All right, he's got Naked Gun, Airplane, Dracula, Dead in Love in it, Naked Gun 2.5 or 2.5. And he's got Repossessed, which I think I might have seen part of. I think it's a parody of The Exorcist film.
I'm on the edge of my seat. I gotta go see it today.
Might have been somewhat even funny. So, and I got one more list after this, so I don't know what you got.
Let me hit you with 3 in a row then. These are all from the Mothership Facebook group.
God bless the Mothership Facebook group.
They turned out for this.
Thank God.
Naked Gun, Creepshow, The Poseidon Adventure, Dracula Dead and Loving It, and Repossessed, with cameos by Jesse Ventura and Gene Okerlund, just to bring it around to the wrestling side.
I actually remember that. Yeah, during like something when she's flipping out, they just popped up randomly. All right, that's good. I'll give him that.
Notice how we saw the least glimmer of care in Dave's eyes. It's like he came to life for a minute, but he's going to be dead on Bed Rich's list because it's Naked Gun 1, Naked Gun 2, Naked Gun 3, Scary Movie, Airplane, fucking amazing. James Castillo's got a list. Naked Gun 1, Naked Gun 2, Scary Movie 3, Airplane, and what the fuck is Surf Ninjas? Is Surf Ninjas that good a movie that it would be one of Leslie Nielsen's best? I feel like Jonathan Taylor Thomas takes center role in this.
Couple things. One, Scary Movie was okay. That was funny. I don't remember Leslie Nielsen being in the original one. I thought he was in late, but whatever.
Apparently he was in 1 and 3.
No shit. I just remember there was the scene.
We don't care enough to fact check you, so lie to us. We could give you shits.
So apparently, no, not apparently. So there was I think it's Scary Movie 2, actually, though. The Wayans brothers. I think it's maybe Marlon.
Okay.
There's a part I always remember when the murder had just happened, and they're like, they have like the reporters up to him, and they ask, "Were you close to the lady?" And he's like, "Yeah, I was pretty close, but then the roofie started wearing off, so I pulled my tongue out her ass and I got the hell out of there." And that has always been one of my favorite lines from a movie. So I don't remember Leslie Nielsen being in that, but that shit was funny. That brought me some smiles.
All right, well, I'm gonna bring you Mike Phillips, the last list I got from the Rockin' Randy's Rockin' Wrestling Group. He's got Naked Gun, Airplane, Creep Show, Viva Knievel, and Forbidden Planet.
All right, well, I'm gonna give you Chevy, friend of the show, part of the show.
We're sorry, Chevy.
Combat Cast. He had Dracula Dead and Loving It, Airplane, Naked Gun, Surf Ninjas, Naked Gun 33 and a third, and not a comedy, but he was great in it, Forbidden Planet. So
I've heard Naked Gun a lot.
Yeah, let's just get right to it. Guys, we'll try to get an interview with this show
Airplane.
this week too. I think the best thing we could do is just go Naked Gun, Naked Gun 2. And instead of going
and
for Naked
Surf
Gun
Ninjas.
I was going to say throw an Airplane.
Yeah, give it to Airplane, but
and hey,
this is going to be a rare time. You hear the music. You know what that means.
Fuck them. That's why.
Yeah, we don't got an answer. Get at us in the comments. And if you don't like the way we treated Leslie Nielsen, well, that's on you, homie. You like us. We didn't come to you with this. We just put it out in the ether, and you stumbled into this. So we'll see you next week when we talk top 5 hilariously bad horror movies. That's how bad Leslie Nielsen was. I forgot to mention hilariously bad horror movies at the top of the show. What the fuck?
Okay, so podcasting, obviously, that's one of your main loves now. But you did say you do. I'm kidding.
Do.
This is the doo-doo podcast. But you also are in comedy now. And what made you decide to transition into that? Why did you go in that direction?
Well, okay, so I started doing comedy open mics like in 2008. So it's been a long time, but I didn't take it like super seriously or like commit myself fully to it for a really long time. It was just kind of something else I was doing. So I would say I wouldn't call myself a comedian for a long time. I would just say I'm somebody who does comedy.
Okay.
So I think now I'll say I'm a comedian. That's something I'm okay with saying now because I've been doing it long enough and I've been paid well for some of my comedy. So I will go ahead and say I'm a comedian now. but for a while I would just say I'm a person who happens to do comedy every once in a while. And it was I'd say it just passed the 10-year anniversary of I had to have brain surgery 10 years ago.
Oh, no shit.
And I couldn't wrestle, but I needed a creative outlet. So I went and did some stand-up. And I was doing so 10 years ago, I kind of dug myself a little bit deeper, like my heels a little bit deeper into the comedy world. And I started walking that path. And like the thing that fascinates me about it is that like comedy is such an art form just as is wrestling. Like exactly the time where it's like building a set is like building a match. So like calling a match is the same. You want to up and down with the folks. So you want to take them on this journey. So it's building the set and seeing what worked this time and what you might want to put into it. It's kind of the same as like building a move set or like trying to put a match together. It's such an art form. And the thing with comedy is I get up there and I can talk into a microphone and I can get the same validation. I can still get that instant gratification of the laughter and applause as I do from being in the ring, except for like I don't have to take my clothes off and no one punches me in my face.
All right. Yeah, easier on the body.
yeah. No, less risks for concussions.
I was thinking, I love it. I love the honesty. It comes so forefront you because all you have to do is look at this podcast and you've given me two very different answers, but they're very honest. Your pre-match wrestling ritual was taking a poop. But when you came to comedy, you gave me a very serious, I had brain surgery, I had to take some time off, and it led to this metamorphosis. I just appreciate that because it's like, all right, whether it's silly or serious, this is who I am. And that's science, man.
It's the genuine article.
Right. No, I get that's great. I'm glad I wrote some notes because it helps keep me on task. You'll get in many different directions.
Yeah, we can get lost falling into rabbit holes all day. I love it. Let's do it. All damn rabbit holes, every one of them.
I was gonna ask you. Kind of did it a little bit too because there is that similarity with wrestling and comedy, and to me, it's like when I used to hear. Some of the older timers wrestlers would talk about going to different territories and having to change their style and their moveset for this. And I figured, okay, comedy is a similar thing, right? You might not be able to pull the same routine everywhere, but then again, maybe you might just have to tweak it just a little bit, right?
Well, like with comedy and wrestling in that same vein, there's the same kind of like you're working different kinds of crowds and you got to play to the room, you got to read the room before you go and decide that you're gonna like do a risque spot or something. The same with like if you're gonna do some blue material, it's like you got to see like who's gonna get upset about this and who's not. Meaning like and not even anymore. It's not as much of a factor anymore. I mean, it still might be, and it still kind of grosses me out a little bit. But it grosses me out because it's like it's old programming, I guess. Like when people still do the stupid homosexual spots, and they're like, like they're doing fake gay spots just for pops, and it's like, leave that.
Right.
We don't need that.
No. No. There's a lot of like great support now. Even in wrestling for the gay community. And yes, but you're right. There is still some of that. It's just like, it just comes off so outdated.
It's amateur. It's really amateur. And it's like one of my trainers is a gay guy. And we used to put on wrestling shows at gay clubs back in the I was before all this other crap. I was the first ever LGBT World Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. We did that 2008. So no one else was doing gay shows or anything, but we were doing that. Eddie and I were doing that back in the day, and my gimmick was that I wasn't a real gay. I was a gay for pay, and it would piss Eddie off because I was making his whole community look bad, and so we feuded over the title because he didn't think I was a good representative of his culture.
That's so funny. I love that. That is so like symbolic of getting back to pro wrestling. Like it's an art form, right? And also, I guess pro wrestling could be comedy. It could be, it could be whatever. That's awesome. That's so funny. Wait. So now, like with comedy, I've talked to a few comedians, and they'll say this term. And I don't know if it applies to you, but they call it finding their voice. It took them a while to find their voice. Do you feel like you found your voice?
Constantly searching.
Okay.
Nonstop search. I'll never say I'm done. I'll never say, and that's the same thing with my goals in comedy. My goals in comedy, when we talk about my goals left, like what's left for me in comedy, my goals are to get really good. I want to get very, very good. I want a Netflix special. I want an HBO special. No, I don't want to film anything. I don't want there to be evidence of me not being as great as I can be until I'm undeniably great. So yes, finding my voice is still something I'm trying to do, and I've been told a couple of times that I've been finding it, and I've been told by other comics like, "Oh, dude, you found it," and I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess that's kind of up to me, huh?"
Right. Yeah, that does sound like something you would have to know. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, but it is called finding your voice.
Right.
So
Not finding another comedian's voice.
right. Now, would you say I don't? Because I've heard. Now, are you a clean comic? Do you do Summerscape stuff or?
Well, I mean, same thing when it goes to like I said, like reading the room and stuff.
Yeah.
I try to keep it pretty clean. I've been doing a lot of family stuff lately, so I've been keeping it clean. Like it's easy way to kind of it's kind of an easy way to it's not hard to be smart about the way you deliver something. Like I'll just give you this quick example and how I edit it, and tell me if you pick up how it's edited. Okay, so I do this bit about libraries and how like I'm surprised about libraries existing because like everyone's got the internet, and the internet kind of like everyone holds the world's knowledge in their hands, in their pocket. Like they don't the library is kind of, who needs it anymore, right? So the library near me has tons of cars in the parking lot all the time, and I had no idea what was going on. So I was like, you know what? Let me just go see why there's so many cars in the parking lot. Everybody that was there was just standing in line waiting to use the internet inside the library. They're just like, what are you doing? You can't use the thing that makes this place obsolete inside of the place. I was like, I equate that to you going to like your girlfriend's house, holding hands with your side piece, and you're like, hey, you mind if we just make out in your living room? If we French kiss in your living room?
So it's a lot of not self, but like just looking at your surroundings.
Yeah,
thing, right? Yeah,
pretty observational. Yeah, it's pretty much well.
That is such a great thing about the library too. I never even like. You're right. It's like they just basically like, well, fuck it, we got to be around, so let's put this thing here that should be putting us out of business. And then,
right, like who decided at the library to put the internet in there?
Right. Yeah, someone who didn't want to go to
like, this might cost us our whole entire livelihood.
Now, did you have some comedians growing up that you really liked, that were big fans of? Or?
Oh man, I had a crazy amount of comedians I was big fans of. So I was huge on Dane Cook when Dane Cook was first Harmful to Swallowed. When that came out, that was like, well, all right, I've cemented that comedy is going to be a thing I do now. But I'd say Pablo Francisco. His style and his silliness all felt like that, something that went to my childhood voice. That like helped me develop my comedy style, was kind of being goofy around my friends. Mike Birbiglia, Daniel Tosh, Mitch Hedberg, definitely number one all-time favorite comedian, Mitch Hedberg. So all inspirations to me for sure. Stuff that made me want to do comedy. Did I give you enough names?
You gave me plenty. Yeah. Okay. Did you ever find yourself because you're a big fan of these guys? Did you ever find yourself where you're not meaning to, but maybe your material would be too similar and you had to change it, or is that not an issue?
It's. I think it's well known with comedians that a lot of comedians for their first years are kind of doing impressions of their favorite comics. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. Yeah, it sounds like that would be something, right? Because you're trying to develop your own stuff, but so you're also finding your voice comes when you stop impersonating other people who you look up to. So so I'm more me than I've ever been on stage now. So I'm closer to finding my voice than I've ever been. But for sure, wanting to do bits that were like Brian Regan or like Pete Holmes, like some of these people are my favorite comedians, and I love their style, and we have such similar speech patterns as well. So it sometimes will, and like there's certain things like I stopped doing a thing because of Pete Holmes kind of started doing it, and I was like, there's absolutely no way he got this from me, because there's no way that he would have seen it. But we're
good. We got broke up for that second. That once in a while happened. You were explaining about how you like the style of Brian Regan and Pete Holmes. You love their style, but
yeah,
you were going into explanation.
You like some bits, some ideas. Inceptual, you know what I mean? Some concepts, some premises. There's absolutely no way. Like, there's only so many things that people can talk about, and it's not like if I bring up a thing, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, he just did that exact thing, but like, he doesn't. There's no way he'll know me. I'm not a famous person who's out here doing comedy in front of hundreds of thousands of people, and I don't have anything online. But I did a bit about looking at the toilet paper after you wipe your ass. I did that, and then Pete Holmes did a bit about that, about Elon Musk looking at his shit on the toilet paper, and then being like, all right, now I'm gonna drive home, get in his car, drive home. Like, the toilet paper was the best technology still. But I had a bit like that I was doing similar about like I was saying, like, I said, make some noise when you blow your nose, you then look at the tissue. And I'm like, now, same if you look at the tissue after you wipe your tush. And then Pete Holmes had his special come out that he had a bit that was similar to that, and I was like, I'm never going to do that bit again. Not because I think he stole it, and I'm like not upset about it. I'm like, oh, it's okay. He did it way better. Like, there's certain jokes that if I decide it's okay, I'd never do it again, then there's never anger about it. Like, I did this. I was doing this one bit for a while, and somebody did it at an open mic, and it was definitely way better than mine. And I was like, never doing it again. It's not like, hey, that guy stole it from me. Nope, have it. He's way better at it.
Oh my goodness. Now, I'm just curious. So now, going full circle here, we got the wrestling, the comedy, podcasting. What made you do podcasting?
Okay, so I told you about my other podcast called Wrestle Rock, right?
Right.
So part of a team doing that. So we were doing it. It was me, Rick Connor, and Matt Flowers started doing this podcast, and we started. I think it's been a long time ago now. So I think 2012 was when we first started podcasting. We started out with our first podcast called Pod Trash, and it was just a silly goose, like, stupid ass time with some friends talking about movies and TV and pro wrestling and comedy.
Okay, so just hang out with your friends.
Yeah. So we were doing that, and then Rick started going to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, right? And they had a studio in there, and we started going into the studio to record Wrestle Rock. So we started doing that, and then we went to a different studio, and the studios that we found were all charging us money for studio time. And I had a friend who had a podcast studio close to my house, and it wasn't her studio, but it was where she was recording her podcast. And I was like, hey, how much does Johnny charge you studio time? And she was like, nothing. Why, do you want your own show? And I was like, yeah. Like, when I was really asking, thinking like, oh, maybe we can start doing Wrestle Rock there. But I was like, yeah, I want my own show. But I had been thinking about it for a while. I had been thinking about it because of listening to podcast that inspired me. So I'd say I listened to You Made It Weird with Pete Holmes podcast, and that lit a fire under me. And I think I listened to tons of WTF, the Mark Maron podcast, and tons of Joe Rogan, and I just wanted another. Because the other thing with the studio space that we were renting to do the Wrestle podcast, it was like we'd only have an hour and we'd have to talk about wrestling. And I'd always go like, there's so much more about me that I want people who want to know me to know.
Right.
And I want to have an outlet for that. So like at the end of the hour every week, I was finding myself going, there was so much I wanted to say that I didn't get a chance to say. So I wanted to have a whole show where I could fill it up with the things that I didn't get a chance to say.
Yeah, no, we get it. We've been talking on this show for a while. Like when we brainstormed the name Working Fans, it was going to be a wrestling podcast, but we ended up looking at it as a blessing because we didn't put wrestling in there. That's kind of good because now we can go talk about comedy and we can talk about martial arts we started. And it's like, so I guess it's great, right? Like that's one of the great things about podcasting. You can take it wherever you want it. And would you say it's your most fulfilling creatively? Or, it's all different, obviously.
Oh, bro, that's a great question. That is a very great question. I'd say, oh, shit.
Over the top. I don't know. I'm thinking that. Never mind.
So the creatively, kinda. It's definitely something I'm very proud that I have.
Yeah.
And it's definitely where people go like, oh, what's your favorite episode or whatever? Like I'll get that question sometimes. They're like, oh, I want to listen to it. Tell me what's like the best episode to listen to at first. And I can never ever give you that answer. I could always be like, you're asking the wrong guy. Yeah. I like every one of them. I can't.
Right.
Yeah. So when it comes to that, because it feels to me like it doesn't take any extra talent to be good at the thing that I really enjoy doing. But when it comes to like wrestling, that takes a ton of talent and a ton of precision and with comedy, it takes a ton of time and a ton of precision. With comedy, with podcasting, it's just kind of natural. It's very easy, but not easy in a way where like I'm just breezing through it. It's just like I'm enjoying how footloose and fancy free this is.
Right. It's very organic, right? It's just it's just naturally like you said, authenticity, right? You want to just have it show through with you, and podcasting might be just the easiest way to do that, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't want to advertise myself as anything. I don't want to make you believe I'm something I'm not. I'm absolutely gonna be honest the whole time. I'm never covering anything up. The thing about this too, about me wanting to start my own thing, because I just didn't want it to be only wrestling.
Right.
It's unavoidable. It's unavoidable to talk about wrestling when you're talking to a wrestler, and anybody who's ever been on the show, we wound up like spinning back around and talk about wrestling. Sometimes only for seconds at a time, but it's like there's so many lessons that I've learned inside of wrestling that they apply to anything. They apply to all the topics that we're ever talking about. So it would lend for an example or something. But everything's cyclical. I think it's all cyclical. Like I want everything I do to serve everything else I do. So that going back to the goals part, I want somebody to go, hey, this guy is a comedian. Oh, did you see he is also a wrestler? Oh, did you see that he's also a podcaster? Did you see that he's also an actor in movies and TV and stuff? And so everything else feeds everything else. So like more people will discover my podcast through all the other endeavors that I'm inside of. I don't want to limit. a ceiling
Right.
on who can be exposed to this fun that I'm having.
Yeah, and they can all branch out and lead to other stuff. Maybe other stuff you didn't even know you wanted too. Sometimes.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, dude, I say this all the time, and please, if it applies and you can use it in the future, please do. You don't have to credit me. You can if you want to, but whatevs if you don't. But I say all the time, growing up as a kid, I was like, I want to be a comedian. That was the first thing I ever said I wanted to do.
Okay.
Wanted to be a comedian, and then when I was like 12, I was like, I'm gonna be a wrestler. It's absolutely the stamped it. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be a wrestler. So all I ever wanted to do as a kid was be a wrestler and a comedian. Those are the main two things I ever wanted to do. I never said I wanted to be a podcaster because that didn't exist yet.
Right.
So sometimes you don't know what you want because what you want doesn't exist yet. So so when it comes to you saying it could lead to something else that you don't even know about yet, yes, absolutely. I'm not counting on it, but I'm kind of counting on it.
Right. I feel you. I totally understand that. We had a thing that, and we're not bragging about it or anything because it was just something to lend to the story. We ended up getting asked to do some commentary, me and one of the guys on the show, for this wrestling promotion in Florida. Mm-hmm. We didn't really get produced. They sent us some videos, so it is what it was. Like when you look back, it's almost like you watch yourself and like, but it was still a fun experience because, there's that young kid in you that's like remembering listening to Jim Ross and, all the other favorite Girl Monsoon, whatever, commentators. And I'm just like, it's pretty fucking cool. I didn't know. I just was doing a podcast. I wasn't planning on doing that. And like, it kind of kept my eyes open like, oh, this could lead to other stuff from time to time. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's pretty great. I'm at the point right now where, I haven't done a whole lot of episodes lately because I started working 2 jobs, and I was working 1 job before, and it was like every Monday through Friday. So I knew that like Monday through Friday, I could get out of work and record a podcast, and now it's like I'm serving tables at a restaurant, which is like you never know when you're gonna get out or when you're so it's kind of like an ends to me, like it's mostly it's just a job, and then I'm working part time at my gym, so I'm just there 2 days and I go right from there to the other job. So it's not like I could record during those times that I'm now not home. So I can't record.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. It's that time trying to balance.
Scheduling wise, it's been tougher to record stuff, but it's anytime I ever do, it's just like jumping right back on the horse. You know what I mean? It's like riding a bike. It's the same amount of fun from last time.
Now, have you done any acting recently too, or?
The last thing I did, it's not out yet, but it's called Not for Nothing. It's I don't know where it's going to be streaming on, if it will be, but I think it's like doing the festival circuits right now.